There are Hollywood love stories that glitter for a moment and fade like flashbulbs on a red carpet. And then there was Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, the couple everyone believed was built to last. 19 years of marriage, 2 daughters, countless public appearances that radiated devotion. Together, they survived addiction, rehab, and relentless public scrutiny. And yet, in 2025, it all came to an end. Not with a tabloid scandal or a bitter court battle, but with a quiet filing that sent shockwaves across Hollywood and Nashville alike. After nearly 2 decades together, Nicole Kidman filed for divorce from Keith Urban. On paper, it was simple: irreconcilable differences. In reality, it was heartbreak, betrayal, and unanswered questions. The kind that leave even Hollywood's best storytellers speechless. It began quietly. In June of 2025, Keith moved out of the family home. Nicole stayed, trying to hold on, believing they could still fix what was breaking. According to court documents, she wanted to save the marriage. He did not. By September 30th, 2025, the story that once inspired millions ended with a few lines of legal text filed in a Tennessee courthouse. Nicole would receive primary custody of their daughters, 306 days per year, while Keith would have just 59. The numbers told a story of their own: 83% to 17. A clean split, with little fight, little resistance, almost as if one side had already made peace with losing. And then came the whispers, the kind that start quietly in the corners of Nashville studios and spread like wildfire. Multiple sources close to Nicole confirmed what many had begun to suspect. All signs pointed to Keith being with another woman. One insider told TMZ, "Nicole doesn't dispute that, but she's still shocked over it. It's all over Nashville." For fans, it was almost impossible to believe. Just 17 months earlier, Keith Urban had stood on stage before Hollywood's elite, before Meryl Streep, Reese Witherspoon, and Morgan Freeman, delivering one of the most emotional tributes ever spoken by a husband. It was April 27, 2024, at the AFI Life Achievement Award ceremony, honoring Nicole Kidman for her decades of film and cultural influence. The night was elegant, filled with Hollywood royalty. But no one expected Keith to steal the moment, or that his words would, in hindsight, sound like a farewell disguised as gratitude. Keith stood at the microphone, his voice shaking. "Nicole, my wife Nicole Mary is here tonight. I love you, baby girl." He spoke of their early days, of how he carried her phone number in his pocket for a week before he found the courage to call. How, just 4 months into their marriage, his untreated addictions had blown their relationship to smithereens. And then came the line that melted hearts across the world. Nick pushed through every negative voice, I'm sure even some of her own, and she chose love. Nicole sat in the audience, tears streaming down her face. Her friends beside her, Reese Witherspoon, Zoe Kravitz, and Meryl Streep, reached over to hold her hand. To the audience, it looked like a fairy tale redeemed. A man who'd fallen, saved by love, standing in gratitude before the woman who refused to give up on him. But now, watching that same footage 17 months later, after the divorce, after the rumors, it feels different. His words sound less like devotion and more like closure. Some body language experts later claimed Nicole's tears that night carried more than emotion. They carried a quiet awareness. Her smile, they said, didn't quite reach her eyes. Had she already sensed the shift? The public, of course, didn't see it then. To them, they were still Hollywood's golden couple. The quiet, grounded pair who seemed immune to fame's chaos. But beneath the surface, cracks had begun to show. June 26, 2025, their 19th wedding anniversary. Nicole posted a black and white photo of herself and Keith embracing, captioned simply, "Happy anniversary, baby." Keith's reply, a single heart emoji. No words, no matching post, no romantic tribute of his own. For the casual observer, it might have seemed trivial. But for fans who'd followed them for years, the silence spoke volumes. Keith had always marked their anniversaries, with photos, captions, even videos from past tours. But that year, he didn't. One fan commented, "That emoji feels like the bare minimum." Another wrote, "Something's off." They didn't know how right they were. Behind the scenes, Keith Urban had already moved out. According to multiple reports, by early summer he was living separately in Nashville, preparing to make the separation official. Nicole, sources said, was heartbroken. She wanted to save the marriage. She still believed they could fix it. Keith did not. By September, the divorce filings would reveal everything, including the custody terms that surprised even seasoned Hollywood lawyers. Keith accepted minimal visitation, just 59 days a year. He didn't fight it. Why? Divorce attorneys who reviewed the filings said it was unusual, almost suspicious. Most celebrity custody cases drag on for months, but this one was quick, quiet, and final. One Nashville lawyer told a local outlet, "When a father gives up that much time without a fight, there's usually a reason, something he doesn't want coming out." If Nicole had proof, texts, photos, or even private witness accounts, Keith would know that contesting custody meant risking exposure, public exposure, and for a man with a carefully maintained image, a global touring artist with a family-friendly brand, that could mean the end of everything. So he took the deal. No court fight, no delays, just signatures, sealed documents, and silence. By the time the divorce became public, it was already over. Keith had signed on August 29th, Nicole on September 6th. Weeks later, news outlets like TMZ, People, and Daily Mail broke the story, each confirming the same heartbreaking detail. Nicole Kidman wanted to save the marriage. Keith Urban wanted out. And according to multiple insiders, Keith had already moved on. In Nashville's tight-knit music circles, the rumors spread fast. "A younger woman in the business," one insider told Daily Mail. Another added, "Everyone wants to know who, but so far, it's a mystery." It wasn't just gossip. It was a storm, and the city was buzzing with speculation. Some said it was someone he met on tour. Others whispered it was someone from his professional circle, someone Nicole had probably met. And that's what made it worse. Hollywood scandals come and go, but betrayal, real, human betrayal, hits differently, especially when it happens to someone who once stood on stage and said she chose love. For Nicole, this wasn't just a divorce. It was the unraveling of nearly 20 years of shared history. The man she'd stood by through addiction and rehab, the one she'd saved when everyone else walked away, was now allegedly building a life with someone new. The speed of it all stunned everyone. From Keith's emotional AFI speech to divorce papers filed, 17 months. From Nicole's happy anniversary baby post to Keith's signature on the divorce, just 2 months. And through it all, Nicole remained silent. No interviews, no statements, just quiet dignity, while the world speculated about what really happened behind closed doors. Some called it the end of an era. Others called it the perfect example of how even the strongest love can crumble when one heart walks away before the other knows it's over. But one question still lingers, a question that keeps fans, friends, and insiders whispering. When did Keith Urban really fall out of love? Was it after the separation, or long before it? And if the rumors about another woman are true, was that the reason he left, or the result of already being gone in spirit? In the end, only 2 people truly know what happened. But one thing is certain. After 19 years of love, redemption, and second chances, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban's fairy tale finally ran out of miracles. By the summer of 2025, something had shifted. Not just between Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, but in the way the world saw them. For nearly 2 decades, their marriage had stood as a quiet monument to endurance. They'd made it through addiction, fame, long-distance schedules, and the glare of Hollywood's ever-hungry spotlight. But even monuments can crack, and sometimes those cracks don't appear until it's already too late. If you go back and trace the final months before the divorce, the pattern is impossible to ignore. Every public appearance, every red carpet photo, every interview now reads like a breadcrumb trail leading to a story no one wanted to believe. May 2025. The Academy of Country Music Awards. Keith and Nicole walked the red carpet hand in hand, smiling for cameras, posing like always. The tabloids ran the photos under headlines about Hollywood's most solid couple. But for those who knew them, the smiles seemed different. Softer, more forced. Watch the footage closely, and you'll see it. The subtle distance between them. Nicole leans in, touches his arm, searching for connection. Keith smiles, but his eyes keep drifting toward the crowd, scanning. He's there but not present. Insiders who attended that night said something was off. One source told People magazine later, "You could tell Nicole was trying. She was glowing, holding on to hope. But Keith looked distracted, like his mind was somewhere else." And maybe it was, because by June, the quiet separation had begun. June 20th, 2025. Their last public appearance together. The setting wasn't a red carpet or a glamorous event, but a FIFA Club World Cup match in Nashville. Cameras caught them laughing, cheering, and smiling. But again, it was an image carefully curated, a performance perhaps for the world still watching. People who were at the game later revealed what the photos didn't show. They arrived separately, they left separately, and between plays, when the cameras turned away, they barely spoke. It was polite silence, two professionals keeping up appearances while their world quietly fell apart. 6 days later came their 19th wedding anniversary. The now famous heart emoji moment. Nicole posted her tribute, tender, full of love, as she had for years. Keith, instead of words, responded with a simple emoji, cold, distant, the kind of response that says more than any caption ever could. By then, according to sources close to the couple, Keith had already moved out. The Nashville mansion that once echoed with music, laughter, and family dinners was suddenly quiet. Nicole stayed with their daughters. Keith moved into his own place, a residence he'd allegedly been preparing for weeks. TMZ later confirmed it. Keith Urban had separated from Nicole Kidman at the beginning of summer 2025. He'd moved out quietly, and for Nicole, it was a shock. Friends said she didn't see it coming. Not like this. She believed, as she always had, that love could weather anything. She had proven that in 2006 when Keith entered rehab just 4 months after their wedding. She'd stood by him through the dark nights, through the withdrawals, through the headlines that said he'd never recover. She'd chosen love then. She was willing to choose it again. But this time, Keith wasn't asking her to. He was done. Behind the calm tone of the legal filings, there was a storm. Emotional, painful, and deeply human. Nicole's side made it clear she wanted to save the marriage. Keith's side made it equally clear that he didn't. And when the divorce papers became public, another detail caught everyone's attention: the custody agreement. Nicole would have the girls, Sunday Rose, now 17, and Faith Margaret, 14, for 306 days of the year. Keith would see them for just 59. That's roughly one weekend every other week, and alternating holidays. No fight, no negotiation, just acceptance. It didn't make sense. For a father who'd always spoken about family being his anchor, why give up so much time? Divorce attorneys weighed in. They said when a celebrity signs off on a lopsided custody deal this fast, there's almost always a reason. Something behind the scenes. Either he didn't want more time, one lawyer explained, or he couldn't risk fighting for it. Couldn't risk it. That phrase hung in the air, because what could possibly make a man with a spotless public image, a man who'd built his career on authenticity, gratitude, and love, walk away so quietly? Rumors began to fill the silence. By September, multiple outlets, TMZ, Daily Mail, and People, reported the same thing. Keith was allegedly with another woman. The whispers came from Nashville, the heart of country music, where secrets don't stay secret for long. "It's all over Nashville," one insider told reporters. The rumor is he's with a younger woman in the business. Nobody named names. Nobody had proof. But in an industry as close-knit as Nashville's, people didn't need photographs to talk. Musicians, PR reps, and producers started piecing together clues, sightings, schedules, and the mysterious presence of one woman seen repeatedly backstage during Keith's summer tour. Fans noticed it too. On social media, eagle-eyed followers began pointing out a familiar face appearing at multiple concerts, always in the background, always close to Keith. Some said she worked with his team. Others believed she was part of his band. Of course, it could have been nothing. In show business, proximity doesn't always mean intimacy. But when your marriage collapses overnight, and a younger woman is suddenly always in your orbit, people talk. And they did. Still, Nicole Kidman didn't say a word. No public anger, no interviews, no veiled social media posts. Just silence, and her lawyers handling the rest. But inside that silence, according to sources, was heartbreak. People magazine quoted friends who said Nicole was devastated and deeply hurt. She felt blindsided, betrayed. She'd believed they could rebuild, but Keith had already emotionally moved on. And what made it worse, she allegedly knew who the other woman was. Reports surfaced that Nicole doesn't dispute the affair claims, but is still shocked over it, which implies something powerful, that she wasn't surprised by who, just by how fast it happened. Some say that's why the divorce was so fast. Nicole didn't want to drag their daughters through a public circus. She just wanted peace, so she agreed to keep everything quiet, as long as the truth stayed out of the headlines. The result? A clean, fast, and quiet divorce. August 29th, Keith signs the papers. September 6th, Nicole signs hers. By the time the public found out on September 29th, it was already over. For a marriage that began with such passion and loyalty, the ending felt brutally swift. And yet, if you rewind the tape, back to the AFI speech in April 2024, it's hard not to wonder, was Keith already halfway out the door even then? The world remembers that night as one of Hollywood's most emotional moments. A husband standing before his peers, crediting his wife for saving his life. But some who were there now say it felt rehearsed. Body language analysts studying the footage noticed Keith's hands gripping the podium tightly, his smile faltering between sentences. Nicole's tears came early, but her face stayed frozen. Almost like she knew those words were more for the cameras than for her. And maybe they were, because within months, Keith's touring schedule would become relentless. City after city, show after show. By mid-2025, he was practically living on the road, a pattern that would later feed speculation about where and with whom he was spending his time. Meanwhile, Nicole was filming overseas, balancing motherhood, film sets, and the growing distance that even time zones couldn't disguise. Those close to the couple said they were living completely separate lives. One friend told People, their lives just started moving in different directions. Keith was focused on touring. Nicole was focused on acting and family. The emotional connection started fading. But others weren't convinced it was that simple. They believed there was someone else, someone who made leaving easier, someone Keith met while still married. And that's the version of the story that Nashville couldn't stop whispering about. For fans who'd watched their love story unfold since 2005. And from that fateful meeting at the G'day USA Gala where Keith carried her number in his pocket for a week, it felt like watching a movie where the ending didn't match the beginning. The man who once said Nicole saved him was now walking away from her. The woman who once said he was her rock was now left standing alone. And still, neither has spoken publicly about what truly ended their marriage. But in silence, there are truths too loud to ignore. Because sometimes, the way a story ends says everything about how it really was all along. There's a moment after every great love story ends. A silence that doesn't feel like peace, but like a vacuum. The kind of quiet where echoes of what once was still linger. That's where Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban found themselves in the fall of 2025. For the public, it was over, papers signed, lives divided, and headlines moved on to the next scandal. But for those who looked closer, the story was far from done. Because what came next wasn't about betrayal or blame, it was about aftermath. In the weeks following the official divorce announcement, Nashville went still. People who knew them, who had worked with them, stopped talking. Publicists dodged questions. The music community, once buzzing with speculation, suddenly went quiet. It was as if someone had drawn a curtain, but that kind of silence only fuels curiosity. And so, fans began their own investigation. They traced social media posts, setlist changes, background appearances, all the subtle clues hidden in plain sight. And somewhere in that digital maze, one detail stood out: a song. Keith Urban had performed it live in late August during his final tour show before signing the divorce papers. The track, still unreleased, was titled "Stay Until It Hurts." At first, it seemed like another heartbreak anthem, something every country artist has in their catalog. But when fans listened closely to the lyrics, they heard something else. "You told me love is patient, but I ran out of time. You held on to forever while I just held the line." The crowd cheered, unaware. But to those who knew, it felt like a confession. Online, fans began dissecting every verse. Some said it was his apology to Nicole, a way to say sorry without saying it. Others thought it was a goodbye note disguised as a song. But for many, it was proof that even if Keith had moved on, part of him was still looking back. Because despite everything, the rumors, the silence, the distance, Keith Urban never publicly disrespected Nicole Kidman. Not once, no statements, no counterattacks, no tell-all interviews, just music. And maybe, in his world, that was the confession. Meanwhile, Nicole Kidman did what she's always done best. She rose quietly. When reporters tried to chase the story, she gave them nothing. No quotes, no tears, no revenge narratives. She let her work speak. Within months, she appeared at the Cannes Film Festival, radiant, calm, centered. The cameras caught something different in her this time. Not grief, not bitterness, but freedom. Sources close to her said she'd found peace. She was spending more time with her daughters, more time in Sydney, away from the noise. And for the first time in years, she looked like herself again. One insider told Vanity Fair, "Nicole's not angry. She's sad, but she's stronger. She's finally stopped trying to fix something that didn't want to be fixed." And maybe that's what makes this story so haunting. Because Nicole Kidman's life has always been defined by resilience. From her painful split with Tom Cruise in 2001 to the loneliness that followed. She rebuilt, she reinvented, she loved again. And she believed in love enough to risk heartbreak again. But this time, the heartbreak didn't come from distance or fame or addiction. It came from disconnection, the quiet, creeping kind that no one sees until it's too late. When the divorce papers became public, people noticed something else. Under reason for dissolution, both parties had checked the same box, irreconcilable differences. No one filed for fault. No one blamed the other. No scandal, no legal war. Just 2 signatures on a line, the end of nearly 20 years. And yet that's not how fans saw it. Because for millions who grew up watching them, Nicole and Keith weren't just a couple. They were a symbol. Proof that Hollywood love could survive the storm. So when it fell apart, it didn't just break their fans' hearts. It shook people's faith in happy endings. Even now, months later, the debate continues. Was it fame, distance, infidelity, or simply the exhaustion that comes from 2 people growing in different directions? Maybe it's all of it, maybe none. But the one thing everyone agrees on is that it didn't have to end like this. Do you still believe in forever? That was the question a journalist asked Nicole Kidman during a quiet, red carpet moment at the Toronto Film Festival later that year. Nicole smiled softly. "Yes," she said. "I always will. But sometimes, forever isn't with the person you thought it would be." It was the only time she addressed it. Directly, honestly, and with the grace that's defined her entire career. Keith Urban, on the other hand, has remained silent. But those close to him say his next album tells the rest of the story. They say the music is raw, confessional, full of regret. One lyric reportedly reads, "You were my miracle, but I was too blind to see." If true, it's the closest thing to closure we'll ever get. And maybe that's the point. Because not every story ends with a villain. Some end with 2 people who loved deeply, tried hard, and simply ran out of ways to stay together. Behind the glitz and Grammy trophies, behind the red carpets and rehearsed smiles, there were 2 human beings. Flawed, hopeful, and heartbreakingly real. That's what makes this story resonate. Not the gossip, not the rumors, but the quiet truth underneath. That love, even when it fails, still means something. Maybe that's why Keith still wears his wedding ring on stage sometimes. Fans have noticed it, a flash of gold under the lights. Maybe it's habit, maybe it's guilt, or maybe it's his way of saying he'll always carry her with him, even as he walks alone. And Nicole? She's turned her pain into art, her silence into power. Those who've seen her latest performances say she's acting with more depth, more honesty than ever before. Like a woman who's been broken and rebuilt herself piece by piece. If you look closely, the story of Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban isn't really about betrayal. It's about evolution. It's about what happens when 2 people love each other enough to change, but not enough to change together. Their love wasn't a failure. It was a chapter, one that gave them a family, music, growth, and healing. And even though the fairy tale ended, the legacy remains. Because somewhere in the Nashville night, under the glow of stage lights, a man still sings love songs that began with her. And somewhere in Sydney, a woman still believes in forever. Just a different kind. That's the story no headline can capture. That's the truth behind the silence.